It's a nice day out here in Middle Tennessee, so I've decided I'm going to go do some physical media shopping at a store called McKay's in Nashville. So come along with me on this bumpy ride to Nashville. So here I am at McKay's in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a big supporter of owning physical media, and you really can't beat McKay's for the amount of physical media they have for sale, used physical media. So books, DVDs, Blu-rays, CDs, vinyl, etc. And I'll go and explain later just how much I value physical media.
This has like 90 songs.
Well, that was an interesting trip to McKay's. It was crowded. I've been in Nashville for a year this month, and of all the times I've visited McKay's, I've never seen it so crowded. It was elbow to elbow, jam-packed, noisy, chaotic, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do any filming. I just made a couple of quick sweeps with my phone and then did my shopping and got out of there. But this video isn't about my dislike of crowds, because I have a hard time dealing with large amounts of people. This video is about going and getting some physical media. I am a big, firm believer in owning physical media because you are not beholden to streaming services. You're not beholden to any of these online services where they can go in and after the fact edit your ebooks. They can remove songs or files or whatever. There could be times that, in terms of, censorship and whatnot, and there could be instances where streaming services don't work. The internet could be down, whatever. And I just find owning physical media, even though it does take up some space, is just far superior. So today I went and purchased blacks, and I'm keeping the tags on here to show how much I paid for them. This is one of the more expensive purchases of my CDs, but I'm a big fan of Black Sabbath, and for some reason, I don't know why, I don't have Mob Rules in my collection. I thought I used to have it, but apparently I don't. But I bought this, and it was for $11.95. A little expensive for a used shop, but it fills a gap in my collection. Another one, and you're going to find out I'm very eclectic in terms of my musical tastes. Another one for $6.95 is New Riders of the Purple Sage. They were a country rock, well, they technically still are, a country rock band that's pretty popular back in the 70s. It was an offshoot of the Grateful Dead. Jerry Garcia appears on this. So New Riders of the Purple Sage is their first album. One I used to have years ago, and I did a purge of all my belongings many years ago, and one of the items to go was Green by REM. I decided it's time to put it back in my collection for the price of 95 cents. Hey, pretty good deal as far as I'm concerned. Here's one for $5.95. Cream, live at the Royal Albert Hall in London. It was on their reunion a few years ago. I wish they would have done an actual tour of the world, but Royal Albert Hall, and I believe they played in New York City as well. That's all they could handle, because those guys, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker, and Jack Bruce, could never get along. That's why Cream didn't last very long back in the 1960s. Didn't last long, but highly influential in the world of rock and heavy metal too. I didn't just get CDs. I also got a couple of DVDs. Well, actually, more than two, but they're in a collection. So the first one, $10.95. Ozzy Osbourne, Speak of the Devil, live from Irvine Meadows Amphitheater in 1982. Now, this was after Randy Rhoads had tragically died in a plane crash in Leesburg, Florida in 1982. I still remember it to this day like it was yesterday. I remember hearing on the radio that Randy Rhoads had been killed in a plane crash, his plane crashed into Ozzy's tour bus. It's a long story, very tragic story. And just remember, 7 days later, or thereabouts, Ozzy appeared on Late Night with David Letterman when it was on NBC. And he was still reeling from the death of Randy and that absolute tragedy. Yet he had a commitment to appear on David Letterman, and he went and fulfilled that commitment. Massive respect to Ozzy for doing that, but wow, you could tell he was really shaken up in that interview. And as they say, the show must go on, and Ozzy regrouped and got a replacement guitarist named Brad Gillis, who famously became the guitarist for a band called Night Ranger. If you've ever heard the songs Sister Christian or You Can Still Rock in America, those were big hits back in the 80s. Brad Gillis was part of that band. So he did a really good job, I think, in filling in a very stressful situation. So, and it's good to have this in my collection. I've never seen it before. And with Ozzy taking his final bows this July in Birmingham, both solo and with Black Sabbath, I think it's time to start really digging into his legacy. So this was $10.95. The next one is the actual box set. $21.95. A little pricey, but I get 5 movies. Once Upon a Time in Italy. It is a spaghetti western compilation. I am a big fan of spaghetti western movies. I'm a big fan. I don't have any of these movies. And the title is a play upon a movie called Once Upon a Time in the West. Also a spaghetti western movie. And as far as I'm concerned, the best spaghetti western movie ever made. So $21.95 for really good spaghetti western movies. I think it was a deal. And I also got a couple of books too. One is a book I used to own years ago, and I think I gave it to somebody, so I'm putting it back into my collection. It's On Liberty by John Stuart Mill. $8.40. It's a thin book, but it's in very good condition. Looks like a relatively recent printing, so I'll take it. Now here's the biggest deal of the day. I'm trying to get my health back into order, and I'm a fan of Dr. Andrew Weil. I don't know how you pronounce his last name actually. And it's an updated, expanded edition of a book called 8 Weeks to Optimum Health for 5 cents. 5 cents, can you believe it? That's crazy. Like, you can't twist my arm more than that. So that's what I did. I'm going to go through this book. I know it's a little dated, but it'll help provide me a path forward to getting my health back in order. These past 3 years, my life has not been the most optimum, to use part of the title. It's not exactly been the most optimum for me. My health has gone downhill, but it's not as bad as it used to be once upon a time. I mean, I was real sick. My kidney started failing on me. Luckily, I was able to turn that around. But, things in life are much better than they were. And so now I can truly focus on my health. So I figure he's well respected. I'm a fan of his. And for 5 cents, you can't go wrong on something like this. So I'm going to read this every day before I go to bed. And On Liberty, again, it's just going into my collection because I love books about freedom and liberty, freedom of speech, things of that nature. And John Stuart Mill is a great writer. So that's pretty much my haul from McKay's. And again, I like having physical media because nobody can control you in terms of what you can and cannot take in terms of music, movies, books, etc. You are the master of your own fate in that regard. So I don't take to censorship of any sort. I don't like having corporations telling me what I can and can't listen to or read or whatever. So I know people who own iPhones. I use an Android. In fact, this is being filmed on an Android right now, Samsung Galaxy. I know people who have Androids who have their apps and whatnot mysteriously disappears because Apple has control over it. When you're on Android, they do not have control over it. I know Amazon and other streaming services can fiddle with and edit movies. There's a recent discussion I've heard about Amazon. They'll take their Kindle books, and they explicitly say, even though you bought it, you don't own it, and they can go in and edit, remove, whatever. As much as I love Amazon, there's certain things that I won't touch, and one of them is their ebooks, because I want a physical copy. I want to be able to read these books unexpunged, uncensored, etc., etc. Again, I want to be the master of my own fate and my own reality, to borrow a Black Sabbath album title, Master of Reality. So that's one reason why or a couple reasons why I like physical media. The other is I like the tactile sense of having physical media, especially vinyl albums. I don't really have vinyl albums anymore. Years ago, vinyl albums just went out of style. I went to go get a replacement needle for my turntable. Couldn't find a replacement needle, so I just went and said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just swap over to CDs, and that's what I did. And now at this point, it's like I don't see any real need to go back and start buying vinyl albums again. If I do, they're going to be a very select few, maybe like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, for example. Or if it's a quadraphonic, maybe something like that. But in general, I'm pretty much a CD guy at this rate, and it would cost me a lot of money to convert my CD collection, because I have like well over 1,000 CDs. I need to do an official count, actually. I kind of hoard music to an extent, and it's not bad, but I've got about 4 large plastic storage bins full of CDs. I'm in a transitional phase right now. I don't own a house anymore. My house in California sold last year, and so I'm living in a small apartment. So I just have them set aside, put away, so if I want to find a CD, I can just dig through them and find what I want. But when I do get a place of my own that I own, I'm going to have a nice media room with all of my books and CDs and movies and whatnot. And when I used to own vinyl albums, you would have things like Rolling Stone's Sticky Fingers that actually had a working zipper on the cover. That's pretty cool. Led Zeppelin 3 had sort of I don't know what you would call it, but the album art, it rotated. It had a little disc inside the sleeve that you could rotate. Really cool things like that. Cheech and Chong had a comedy album called Big Bamboo, and it came with a large album size rolling paper. Some others came with 3D glasses. I mean, just the artwork was stunning. The amount of work that went into it was just in addition to the music. And a lot of albums came with foldable posters. Kiss did that famously. Their albums came with fold-out posters, booklets, temporary tattoos, things of that nature. So I guess part of it is the tactile sense of it. You know, I like reading the liner notes. Who produced it? Who mastered it? Who were the extra session musicians on a particular album? Things of that nature. Who played what? You know, Aerosmith had an album called Rocks. I wouldn't have known that a 6-string bass was played on that album if I hadn't read the liner notes. A lot of people would have never guessed that a 6-string bass was used as part of the recording process. So you get a lot of interesting information about the artist. You get, again, the art that comes with it. And there's also that smell sometimes that comes with vinyl and especially the gatefold sleeves and things of that nature. And so for me, it's more than just the music. It was the art that came along with it. You don't see that with digital releases. CDs, yes, you can to some extent, although the print's a lot smaller. At least it's still something you can hold on with. So yeah, I'm a big fan of physical media, and I love going to places like McKay's, go to Goodwill and whatnot, and find the used CDs. And I also buy brand new ones too. When on the occasion, I went and bought the brand new Marilyn Manson release not that long ago. Pink Floyd just announced they're going to be releasing their album and movie Live at Pompeii. Live at Pompeii is a spectacular movie that came out back in the 1970s. I remember seeing it in the early 1980s at a midnight movie. Pink Floyd Live at Pompeii was just spectacular. and they're releasing a soundtrack to it as well. So there's pre-orders happening right now. I love that. And I also ordered recently 2 box sets, Black Sabbath box sets, super deluxe editions of Volume 4 and Sabotage, 2 of my favorite Black Sabbath albums of all time. Little pricey, but I got a bonus at work, so I can afford it. So I've got those coming as well, brand new. They weren't released very recently, but they're still new to me, and I bought them brand new, not used. But yeah, I'm a big fan of physical media, and I highly recommend getting at least some physical media and owning it, because to me, you're really investing yourself into the artist. You're being a true patron of the arts when you buy physical media, as opposed to just mindlessly downloading songs or streaming things on Spotify. Music at that point becomes disposable. It doesn't become an investment in you, and I find music to be an investment in my life. So on that note, peace out, goodbye. I know it's been a while since I went and made a video. I just went on a sort of a hibernation mode for a few months, but I'm back and rearing and ready to go. Peace out and goodbye.